We have a ban list update and a new card that will change everything. In addition to that, we are also going to talk about Kashtira's power being revealed. All that right now. Get ready. Boom. Konami has announced the upcoming selection pack, and with that announcement, a ban list update. And the bans are going to be, I should say limits. The field spell for Kashtira will be limited to 1. As you can see, limited to 1 in OCG. I was reading on Reddit people saying that the OCG ban list is useless for determining the future of Master Duel. As you can see, that's definitely not true. This was very easily predicted if you pay attention to the OCG ban list, which I do with the updates. Also, Kashtira tier limits, again, OCG limited to 1 and limited to 1 on release for Master Duel. I do think this is an overreach from Konami. This is quite insane. This is after Havnus being limited to 1. Merle's also banned. That is absolutely insane. Konami is really against tier limit right now. But even more important is the Kashtira Arise Heart banned in TCG at 3 and OCG being released at 3 for Master Duel. That is a big one, and they will definitely be playing 3 of this card. We also see the ultra rare Eva Gishki. We have the Prediction Princess, which all of you are guaranteed to pull the most of, and the Rescue Ace Turbulence being an ultra rare, very much expected here. Now, with this, I do want you to know, using the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta website, under Duelist Nexus, if we type in the word Rescue, we're not getting these cards, okay? I know that in my duel video, I showcased these cards, but I did tell you within that video that not everything in that video was coming, and it was just to showcase a quick combo with the deck. So again, not coming. This is not new information. I told you this already. So just expect that. What does that mean for Rescue Ace? That means it's not going to be that good on release. As we newly got purely on release, and it pretty much had everything and is a great top tier, tier 1 deck, Rescue Ace is going to be a different story. Maybe tier 3, maybe tier nothing until we get the new Duelist Nexus cards. And also, the big card that will change everything. Triple Tactics Thrust. This card is absolutely insane. I'm going to show you the impact of this card from the TCG and cards that you could be searching for with this. This is on the level of Triple Tactics talent. Absolute absurdity. Now, let me tell you, the power of Kashtira, now that we know the full power that it's going to be on release, let's look at the TCG for the impact of something similar to the power that we're going to get for Master Duel. So looking at a recent YCS where Kashtira wasn't the sole most dominant deck, quite even with the deck like Unchained, which we're not going to be having anytime soon. We could see here, click on Kashtira. They do have Triple Shifter. They did have the Unicorn Semi-Limited. The Fenrir, they do have a 3, but then everyone's playing that. Terraforming, we don't have. What else do they have? They have Triple Pot of P. We have it at 1, and this is a big card, so you could banish a card like the Infinite Track Goliath, which will then make your Arise Heart indestructible. Now, the Arise Heart was limited to 1 within this YCS, so it may be a bit better for us. Diablosis was also banned for this, so that does make sense. Kind of funny that this is showing there can only be 1 in the main deck. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case for us. There were 4 Kashtira decks that did well here within this event, within the top cut, so maybe I'll skip to another one. Not playing a Floodgate in the main, but the field spell being limited to 1, and we don't have Terraforming, so that's a big one. This searches for any Kashtira, and you had 4 cards of it, and we only have 1. Also, the field spell destroys a card on the field if you activate the effect of Shang-Ri, and commonly on the turn 1, what you would do is you would use the field spell to destroy your own Shang-Ri using its destruction protection to detach a material, and then you could reborn that material with Kashtira Birth. So that did add to a lot of combos, which we're not going to really have that play as much. Similar to the field spell for Tier Limit. Now, another YCS I'll quickly look at. This is quite similar to the power that we're going to get. They did not have Unchained yet. It was the best deck, but not by far. So a lot of people are thinking that is Kashtira's release meaning that any graveyard deck is completely dead? Well, in this YCS, Dragon Link, which I like to think is quite graveyard reliant, did quite well within this tournament. So if we go to that, it did get top 4 within its best placing here. As you can see, there was a Purely. This is an Ignister, and we have a Exosister won the whole event here. Very interesting. And looking at the Kashtira deck for what is similar, again, the Unicorn was semi-limited. We have the Shifter at 2, Terraforming, Field Spell. Those are the main ones. Also, the Pot of P having some synergy with the deck here. But again, the Arise Heart was limited to 1. So what do you think? We have unlimited Arise Heart, but they had triple Field Spell and Terraforming. So in my opinion, and also only 2 Unicorn, but I do think the Field Spell makes up for it. I think this is a bit better than, I don't know if I highlighted the wrong one. This is the Field Spell. And I think that this deck is still a bit better than what we're going to have on Master Duel's release, and this is the impact. So my opinion is I do think Kashtira and Purely will be tier 1. Both of them tier 1. Kashtira, I would say, has a bit better matchup within the Purely matchup, specifically if they're going to duel each other. But against all other decks, it's going to be up in the air for which deck is better between Purely and Kashtira. Now, moving on to Triple Tactics Thrust, which will be searching for cards like, let's see this, Thrust. Let's talk about the cards this will search for. If your opponent activates a monster effect this turn, where in TCG they don't have max C, so maybe we're more likely to have this card be usable because everyone is max C'ing within your draw phase, your standby phase, even within the main phase. So if they use any monster effect, you could set a normal spell/trap directly from your deck. Remember, it has to be normal. And if your opponent controls a monster, you could add it to your hand instead. If you set the card, the card cannot be activated that turn. So if they make a Bestial on your turn 1, your card's going to be usable right away. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly a go second card unless you're setting a good trap on turn 1. So the main cards you're going to be searching for, Triple Tactics Talent. So ideally, you're using this because they used a card in your main phase, and then you get to have extra copies of Triple Tactics Talent, or you just have more versatility, more options. You could search for something else. What's another card you could search for? Well, Mad Lads are searching for cards like Harpie Feather Duster. Not seeing as much use because it is limited to 1, but now that it's searchable at Thrust, maybe this is a better card to start including into every deck. And what else could we search for? Dark Ruler No More. Again, another card is not that popular at the moment, but if you could tech in 1 copy of this, 1 copy of Harpie Feather Duster, that is, you could then now negate all their monsters, wipe out their back row, and also another card, Lightning Storm, is another great search with your Triple Tactics Thrust. What else is good? This is a big one. Evenly Matched. They activate a monster effect in your turn. You can now thrust the Evenly Matched into your hand, wipe out their entire field except 1 card. It is a normal trap. It's usable that turn. You search it if they have a monster. Absolutely beautiful. And if you're playing against Purely, what do? Their Nor is generally going to activate during your standby phase, thus making the thrust activatable to search for a Herald of the Abyss. Pay 1,500 life, declare the attribute and type of the Nor. The Nor goes to the graveyard, and that is going to be a win. Even with the Nor being unaffected from activated effects, the Herald of the Abyss is not the one that is affecting the Purely Nor. You are affecting the opponent. You're making the opponent send their Nor to the graveyard. So that is a very important card there. Now, looking at the TCG impact of the Triple Tactics Thrust, yes, it's not number 1 right now through Tier 3 events, which is YCS and Nationals within the past month. Triple Tactics Talent is the number 1, but it is still a very popular card. Triple Tactics Thrust, on average, being used 2 to 3 copies, and about 40% of Tier 3 tournament topping events within the last month. That is insane. And if we look at what decks were using it the most, it's going to be decks that inherently have good spells and/or traps that are normal ones within the main deck, giving you even more options to search for with the Thrust. Those cards being in a deck like Unchained and Branded Despia. So if we're going to look at Unchained, we could see that one of their main searchers, a normal spell, searchable with the Thrust. They have normal trap, Pot of Prosperity searchable, search the Triple Tactics Talent. So in any deck that you enjoy playing that as a core part of your deck is playing normal spells and/or traps, that's going to be very good for your deck, much more so than other decks. If we look at Branded Despia, of course, search for Branded Fusion. What else could you be searching for here? You could search for Fusion Deployment, and that's why they are enjoying Triple Tactics Thrust more than other decks here. And then we are looking at, I think, the YCS here. I actually don't, well, let's look at the other normal spell and trap cards that are popular here. We have Impermanence, which is a very weak search, but it is something. Pot of P is good. Pot of E is not good because it has to be used at the start of the main phase. Harpie Feather Dust we talked about. Small Worlds could even be a good search here, as if they have a monster, then you could search for your core combo piece. Maybe Foolish Burial gets your whole combo started. As you can see here, most used in Tri-Brigade Sprite. Unfortunately, that deck is pretty much dead due to the Nimble Beaver. Maybe search for a Reinforcement of the Army. Search for a Chaos Space. Search for your Ritual spell. Is Makonko going to start using the Triple Tactics Thrust to search for Preparation of Rites, which will then search for the main Makonko? Search for Signet Mining. Even search for dirty cards like Dimensional Barrier. You don't care if they have a monster on the field. Turn 1, they activate Max C. You now search for Dimensional Barrier, set that card, not activatable that turn, but then on your opponent's turn, lock them out of Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Pendulum, not Link Summoning. And for Labyrinth decks, I'm expecting Triple Tactics Thrust, searching for the big Welcome Labyrinth. That is a big one. Even the Thrust eating up a card like Ash Blossom so that it can make way for your big Welcome Labyrinth to be activated. That is good. Pata D is definitely usable here. And I think that's all I pretty much want to say about the impact of the pack coming. I told you about Duelist Nexus cards not coming. I showed you the impact of Kashtira. I may be working on a guide for this deck. Let me know if you're interested in that. And now you know all the great cards you could be searching for with Triple Tactics Thrust, in addition to the decks themselves that will benefit a lot more with this card. There's a lot of hype, 108 comments here. Can't wait to get 9 copies of Prediction Princess, of course. What else? Thrust is going to change deck building a ton. It definitely will. Max C is a great way to be triggering that card, much more so in the TCG. Konami hates tier limits. Yes, I feel the tier limits pain here. I think this was a bit too much because Kashtira existing is already going to inherently be hurting the deck. What else is good? Thrush. Let's go. I don't know if this was Trush was maybe the OCG name. I knew it. K tier limits. Stop tiers already did. Where's Dissipator? Now, I was reading someone excited for their Harpie deck. The Feather Storm is even more searchable. They're saying they now have 9 copies of Harpie Feather Storm, a really toxic card that just completely turns off the monster effects. You know it from Fluandereeze, but for Harpie lovers, they're going to like this even more. And that is it for the video. Let me know if you enjoyed it and want more videos like this. Thank you very much for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we are out.